Welcome to this edition of In Depth Alaska. I'm Tracy Sinclair. Now, January is National Blood Donor Month, and so we wanted to talk about blood donation, why we need it, who can do it, and who we hope will start to do it. So to do that, joining me from the Blood Bank of Alaska is Wes Dahlgren. And Wes, let's talk about that. I mean, I feel like people understand there's a big need for blood donation, but can you kind of explain how big the need for blood is here in Alaska?
Well, Tracy, thanks for having me. The need of blood in Alaska is really significant and really across the United States. All of the blood that is transfused in hospitals, not only in Alaska, but across the United States, all comes from volunteer donors who take time out of their day to come and donate. There's no artificial blood supply. It's all from donors, again, choosing to come and help a fellow Alaskan. In particularly in the state of Alaska, there's a lot of geographic restrictions we have in terms of just the vast size of Alaska, separated population bases. In particular, Alaska, the majority of the people live here in Anchorage, and so the bulk of our donor base is in Anchorage, and really that bulk donor base in Anchorage sustains pretty much the whole state of Alaska. That said, we do have collection centers on the Kenai Peninsula and in Fairbanks and Juneau as well, and also in the Mat-Su Valley. So really encouraging donors to come to one of those location sites and donating blood.
Well, on your website, it says that I believe 38% of the population is eligible to donate blood. When I saw that number, it seemed really low to me. Then I also thought, if we're looking at population, does that immediately take out children? Is that one of it? But what would make a person not eligible to donate blood?
Well, Tracy, you struck it really the nail on the head. Only 38% of the population is eligible to donate. Again, age is a contributing factor to that. People are too young, or they can get to the point where they're too old to necessarily donate blood. Also, there are certain things. Travel to malaria risk areas is a huge contributing factor. Also, medications and certain medical conditions which might exclude somebody from being eligible to donate, which really strikes home the point of those people who are eligible to donate coming in and donating blood for their fellow Alaskans.
Well, I know I mentioned it before, but for a long while, I feel like almost 20 years, I was not eligible to donate because there was the restriction due to mad cow disease. I'd been in Britain in the 1980s, spent a lot of time there, and so I was not eligible. I am now eligible. That restriction has been lifted, but just shortly after it was restricted, I got my first tattoo. I always heard that you had to wait a really long time after you get a tattoo. Is that true? Am I hearing things?
Well, it depends where you get a tattoo. If it's a reputable business, like an established business here in Alaska or in most other states, the wait time after a tattoo is 30 days. You mentioned the mad cow disease deferral. That was a huge deferral for a long time, and the FDA changed their guidelines for those deferrals. And obviously, we're regulated by the FDA, so we're adhering to those guidelines. And so there's a large population of former military members, dependents, things like that are now eligible to donate blood. I would encourage anybody, if they do have questions about their eligibility, to go ahead and give us a call at 907-222-5630. And they can certainly ask one of our people here if they're eligible to donate.
Well, and also from your website, it said that of the 38% that are eligible, I believe only 2% actually donate. Again, that seemed like a really low number to me. I have to say I am attempting to donate this week, so hopefully I have enough iron in my blood. But let's talk a little bit about reasons why people don't donate. I know you get these statements and talk to people about this a lot. Some of the comments here that we've gotten are they've gone in and they had low iron, and then you're like, well, do I go back again? Some people are afraid of needles. How do you talk to somebody and say why you should at least attempt or see if you're eligible?
Well, so the whole premise of donating blood is for when that patient in the hospital needs it, right? And there's never really a planned time when you're going to need blood. In my experience, I guess They do use it for planned surgeries sometimes and things of that nature, but the majority of blood is used in case, right, in the event of a trauma or an emergency. So having that active blood supply. Some of the reasons people don't choose to donate blood is obviously fear of needles is a huge factor in that. A lot of people may think that they're deferred, but the guidelines and eligibility criteria has changed so much in the 15 years I've been here that I would just encourage anybody to call and ask if they're eligible to donate blood. You mentioned the 2% of people who are eligible, or 2% of that 38% donates blood. That's a really small percentage of the population that's sustaining the whole state. I've often said in other blood centers around the country, we've talked about this, and if the people who donate blood once a year donated twice a year, there would never be an issue with having an adequate blood supply on the shelf.
That is kind of an amazing number to me, that it would just take those people doubling their times.
Yeah, yeah. And so the Blood Bank of Alaska, we do a really great job of making sure there's an adequate blood supply on the shelf. We really do a really great job here, and we've gotten more efficient and better since I started working here, again, 15 years ago. But we can always be better. And again, ensuring that we do have an adequate blood supply on the shelf. I know, now's a time of the year where the holidays are over, and people are getting back into the habit of, and get back into the swing of things after the new year. They're not always thinking about donating blood. And if they could make that time to come in and donate, I think, we would appreciate it, but also the people in the hospitals receiving that blood would be a huge thing.
So let's talk a little bit about the donation process. What does it take? How long does it take? You're talking about coming in. How much of your day is going to be spent doing this?
So again, that's a good question. The first thing I would encourage anybody who wants to come in and donate is to make sure to go ahead and eat a good meal and hydrate before they come in to donate. That can actually help things out in the donation process. The actual process of donating blood is probably the quickest part in that process, anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes generally. The longest part in that is in addition to the medical health screening that we do, a mini physical, and then just the questionnaire in terms of medical and travel and potential risks and things like that. On average, donors, 45 minutes to an hour of their day, I would tell them to commit to come in and donating. And obviously, when they're done donating, we want them to, have some juice and cookies as well.
Yeah, that is always the classic image of getting juice and cookies afterwards and kind of sitting there and just waiting.
It's funny, Tracy, a lot's changed in blood banking throughout the years, but the one thing that hasn't changed is juice and cookies.
Yeah. I feel better knowing that. Good. Because like I said, it's been, I think when I called yesterday to get an appointment, she checked and I hadn't donated since, I think 2003 was what she'd said. And again, that was due to the mad cow issue being in Britain for so much of that time. So how often can somebody donate, and how often do you recommend that people come in?
Well, I would recommend people to come in whenever they're eligible to donate blood. People coming in with some form of consistency, whether that be every 2 months or every 4 months, or even just twice a year, means that there's a more stable supply of blood on the shelf. We do have a couple different procedure types. So the majority of people who come in to donate what we refer to as whole blood. So that's basically, we take a pint of blood from them, and then on the back end here internally at the blood bank, we'll break it down into plasma and certain other products like cryo, things like that. And then there are apheresis donations where we'll take platelets and other products from donors as well. So it really depends on the blood type. There's certain blood types where their platelets are extremely useful to hospitals, and platelets have a very short shelf life. The shelf life of red cells is 42 days. The shelf life of platelets here in Alaska is 5 days. So making sure that we have an adequate supply of platelets on the shelf to supply hospitals is pretty important. And I would encourage anybody, if they're watching this and are interested in donating apheresis, and they have the time, because that is a longer procedure, can take upwards of 2 hours. If they're comfortable donating, just ask somebody when you're in the center next, and they can certainly educate you on it.
Is there anything that you want to say that, or you think we should know that I didn't ask you?
Well, I think the one thing I would want people to know is, in a perfect world, blood banking, no one would ever need blood, right? But we don't live in a perfect world. And again, making sure there's an adequate supply of blood on the shelf means that people have to take time out of their day to come in and donate to somebody that they've never met, and they'll probably never meet, you know? So that's why it's so important. Again, and there's no substitute for human blood. So it's really important that there is an adequate supply of blood. And one of the ways we do that is to come to people like you and try to raise awareness for blood bank or the need for blood. And hopefully people come in and donate. I would say this week we started a promotion at our centers. We're offering a $10 gift card for donors who come in and register to donate.
So thank you so much, Wes Dahlgren with the Alaska Blood Bank of Alaska, and we appreciate you so much spending a little bit of time with us.
Thank you for having me.